Great to meet everyone. Today I will be talking to you about the 28 laws. These are laws of magic. They're basic building blocks of everything I do on this site. Um, but today I'm going to go over them one by one, but I'm not going to go into full-blown detail, just a short, brief one. Um, and then I will later go, make a series where I go in high detail every 2 to 3 of them per session. Um, so this law number 8, the law of contagion, is that whenever two items interact with each other, that interaction can never be severed. That's why I like to explain it to people. It's not mentioned here, is that it's because you can't go back in time. So at that time, date, and place, those two objects meet, and nothing you do can sever that those two objects have met. It creates a type of permanent bond, in a manner of speaking. Um, it cannot be severed once it happens, and it also works in conjunction with the law of sympathy and the law of similarity. So contagion acts as a bridge through which the influence itself flows. So there's laws can stack on top of each other for that reasoning. And it's a good thing to note. Um, so here's I'll just go over the first one explanation, and then I'll let you read the rest, and I will go over the whole thing later. In the literal sense, if a clean cloth touches a piece of charcoal, that cloth is contaminated. Because even if you wash that cloth, the it's contaminated the fibers. There's nothing you can do to wash that out completely. It will always have the history that the common contact was there. So again, that goes back to the time and place and stuff like that. Okay, law number 5, the law of association. When things happen at the same time, they will always share that event. This is that, but says that the timing is tether. Um, if two unrelated things occur at the same exact time, like Grandma going to get groceries and Timmy cleaning out the fridge at the same time, they have a commonality that it was done at the same time. Um, so unlike physical touch, this law is triggered by similarity, which is, uh, so if a doorbell rings every time, or if a bell rings every time a door opens, the bell and door have now become associated through the event. That's a very smaller scale version of it, and it's a great way to explain it. Pattern recognition. The law also relies heavily on uh, the person practicing to see said link. Um, to see the two simultaneous events, and it expects to remain linked in the future occurrences. Um, the narrative and world building and teaching or storytelling, you create omens or signs by constantly pairing two unrelated events. Like, every time a banshee screams or cries, someone dies nearby. That's a perfect example of this. And so, in comparison with cognition, it is linked by touch. Cognition is linked by touch, where association is linked by time. So those are two separate things, while similar. Law of sympathy. Well, cognition is about physical contact and association is about shared timing. Sympathy focuses on the resonant frequency between things. Uh, Things that have an affinity with each other and influence and interact over a distance with each other. This law suggests that objects or entities do not need to be physically touching to affect one another. If they share deep affinity, a structural, spiritual, or symbolic likeness, what happens to one will naturally resonate with the other. That's very, as above, so below, is like the main compass of that. So that's the way I like to explain it, is as above, so below. Um, Affinity is being in tune, resonating on the same frequency on two separate points, but their shared influence. Action and just influence is not restricted by physical space, and because of that, the connection exists on the level of sympathy. This is a two-way street. When one part of the pair is stimulated, the partner responds in kind. Um, if tuning fork, if you have two tuning forks calibrated to the same frequency, and you strike one, the other one will begin to vibrate even if it's across the room. They have an affinity, they have a frequency, and they influence each other over a distance. In modern science, particles that have been entangled will mirror each other's states instantaneously, regardless of how far apart they are. This is a manifestation of the law of sympathy to its fullest. So integration. So as we said, cognition is about touch. Association is about time. And sympathy is about maintained affinity or frequency on which something reacts. No, law of similarity. Well, sympathy explains that a connection exists across a distance. Similarity explains how to activate and direct that connection through likeness. Like will produce like effect similar to effect in its cause. Having an image, even in mind, helps control it. This principle suggests that likeness is a fictional tool. By creating a mental or physical representation that resembles the target, you establish a bridge of influence. The closer the resemblance, the stronger the control over the resulting effect. Causality through likeness. Because like produces like, the specific qualities of your mental blueprint or physical model dictate the qualities of the final outcome. Mental blueprinting. Holding an image, even in mind, serves as a stabilizing anchor for reality. That is why a lot of anime shows, they say you gotta envision the fire burning in your hand to actually make it happen. This law is exactly that. But a good one that a law of similarity that I like to do is with money spells. A lot of the time you either use fake Monopoly like money or fake coins or even the color green. All three things represent money in some way or fashion through similarity. But because the play money is more similar to actual money than green, the similarity between the fake money and real money is more powerful. So that's that one. Law 9, positive attraction. It explains the energetic pull that makes the control possible. Like attracts like. To create reality, put out similar energy. If you want a bunch of positive, non-toxic friends. You gotta be positive and non-toxic yourself. I mean, that's the bottom line of this law. Um, Magnetism of intent. The law operates on the idea that the universe is not a passive space, but a responsive one that mirrors the input you provide. Rule of three. Prime example, rule of three. What you put out comes back to you. That's exactly this one. Um, Community building. If the creator approaches their community with energy that is helpful, high value, and enthusiastic, they will naturally attract members who are also helpful, enthusiastic. And that's how these communities are really built. Um, Creative momentum. When you start a project with high excitement, you often find that the resources or ideas you need seem to fall into place. That's also because of this. Uh, Integration. Law's similarity provides a template, the mental image. Law 9, positive attraction, provides a fuel. The law of negative attraction. Moving from the proactive pole, law 9, we're now examining the law of negative attraction. The law of balancing forces. Well, 9 is about what you want to pull in. Law 10 is about how the universe naturally seeks equilibrium. And this is opposites attract. Energy and action seek a balancing effect. This principle suggests that every extreme change or action, an equal and opposite force is drawn to it to maintain stability. The law of opposites. This law posits that, unlike positive attraction, there is a secondary mechanism where unlike attracts unlike to fill a vacuum or create a hole. Every action initiates a search for its opposite to create a 0 point or balance. If a situation becomes too one-sided, too much positive energy, without grounded negative logic, the law of negative attraction will pull in an opposing force to correct the tilt. That would be like if humans ever got superpowers, let's say, and we had superpowered villains, then that will cause superpowered heroes to emerge. The fact that we have crime and stuff like that makes it necessary to have a police force. That is law of negative attraction at its finest. Law of knowledge. Um, Law 1 is a primary directive that makes every other law functional. This law establishes that control is not a product of luck or brute force, but a result of the depth of your data. To master any system, you must first achieve a comprehensive understanding of its inner workings. Know thy enemy, right? Know thyself and know thy enemy. This principle posits that your ability to influence an outcome is directly proportional to your level of understanding. This whole school that I'm building is built on that foundation. Learning the how, the why, and everything else. So this law plays right into that. Knowledge is power mandate. This classic maxim is used here as a functional rule. Power is not an abstract concept, but the application of gathered information. So, that's why they say intelligence beats brute strength every time. Because you can outsmart them, over it. And so that also is a part of this one. Technical mastery. A person who barely understands how a computer works will struggle to fix a minor error. will struggle to turn it on even. However, a developer who understands the source code of it will be able to fix errors up the wazoo with a few keystrokes. So far we have Law 1 identifies information as a source of power, and Law 2 identifies the self as the most critical subject to understanding first. So yourself, knowing yourself, and I'll go over that one next, but I will be taking a short break and be right back.